The Obstacle is the Way, a book by Ryan Holiday, a big advocate for Stoicism, and a big teacher on Stoicism. Wonderful book, and today I'm going to summarize it for you. Welcome to my video. I have a book club series every week where I try and distill and summarize the books that I read. I try and do it in every week, and this week it's Obstacle is the Way. If you guys want more books that are like this, mostly non-fiction books, self-improvement books, philosophical books, financial books, comment down below which book you guys want me to read and learn and study. And in this book, basically this book helps you combat obstacles, because back in the day, Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, they had a lot of obstacles to combat. Unlike today, today's life is, I think, compared to ancient Rome's time, is much more easier, because we have much more technology to make it easier for us. And back then, they had a lot of wars, they had a lot of feuds and stuff, and Stoicism was the cornerstone of how Marcus Aurelius was one of the greatest emperors of his time. And overcoming obstacles is a discipline of 3 steps. The first one is perception, second one is action and will. This book, using these 3 steps, you'll be teaching yourself, or these 3 steps will help you turn any loss or obstacle or setback, and it will be catapult, or it will catapult you to even becoming even better than you were before the obstacle. Perception is basically how you see the thing. Perception in the book's definition is how we see and understand what occurs around us and what we decide those events mean. So all in all, the first principle is the most important one, I think, perspective, because our perspectives can be a source of strength or great weakness, because how you see the Champions League final loss could be your result for next season. Whether you see the loss as a good lesson, a good bar for you guys to aim for next season, or you see the loss as just the end of the road, you guys put all into that season, and now, there's nothing to work for anymore. One of the actionable steps is to practice objectivity. Practice going out of, because in most cases you'll see that it's far easier to give advice to your friends and your family when you aren't part of the problem, when you aren't facing the problem. And that's what practicing objectivity means. It's to exclude yourself from the problem or the setback that you are facing right now. You exclude yourself and you do not connect yourself to the problem, because then you become attached to it and you can't let go, and you can't take value from the problem. So first actionable step is to practice objectivity and ask yourself, does this obstacle or setback or loss stop me from practicing the 7 virtues of Stoicism? The 7 virtues of Stoicism is firstly, patience, courage, anger, humility, resourcefulness, reason, justice, creativity. I think you should meditate upon it. Meditate on this, because it's very mind-opening, because every single problem you have teaches you one of these 7 virtues. The Champions League final can teach you patience, resourcefulness. How can we beat the team next season? How can we beat Inter Milan or Man City versus Inter Milan? How? Let's say City gets knocked out in the finals. How they need to practice resourcefulness, creativity, and they also need the courage to stand up again and try and to set the goal of winning the Champions League next season again. Patience. Maybe they were too eager to score a goal and their defense was lacking. All of these can teach you obstacles. Whether you got an injury, it teaches you patience, teaches you humility. I think you should sit down and really reflect on your problem or the obstacle you're having right now, and ask yourself, what is this obstacle teaching me? In most cases, I've seen that it teaches me patience. I think in this era, in this time in our lives, especially this generation, we're very impatient. Once you've asked yourself, does it stop you from practicing those 7 virtues, with which in actual fact it can't stop you? To ask yourself, is this up to me? Is this can I control this? Is it really in your control? Because basically the only things that are in your control, the only thing that Ryan Holiday says that are in your control is 1, your emotions, how you feel towards the thing, your judgment, your creativity, your determination, and your attitude, your perspective, desires, and decision. Basically, those are the only things that you can control. Your attitude towards the loss, your perspective, how you're looking at this, your desires, your decision. Then if it's not part of these, then it's not really in your control. And once it's not in your control and you keep stressing over it, it's just going to become worse. The best way to deal with it when you know it's out of your control is just to live in the present. Because the implications of obstacles are theory, and live in the past and the future. On obstacles, you're always stressing on the future, on the past. How did this person make me feel? Why did we lose? We actually lost. That's in the past. We're stressing on, are we going to lose this player next season? We're stressing, are we going to sign? We're stressing, how did I lose my client? That's the obstacle. I lost my 35. I don't know if there's a client with $35,000, but I lost a client worth $35,000. It's always in the past or in the future. And the best way to live in the present, in the now. Side note, I'm gonna do a summary of The Power of Now soon. So like and subscribe. Stay tuned for The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The best way to stay in the present is doing things that make you feel at peace, make you feel like you're alive. Being with your dog, meditating, exercising, running especially, I feel like has made me feel like I'm in the present moment. Something that you can feel like it's therapeutic. Something that makes you just zone out in a way. Not something necessarily that will make you zone out because it's so difficult, but something that will make you, come into the present moment. And with all these actionable steps, some obstacles just may be too much for you. Some obstacles can be out of your control. Some obstacles can drain your energy. Some obstacles can be quite daunting. And if all these actionable steps don't work, find the opportunity. And you could always find the opportunity in the loss. You could always find the opportunity in the obstacle as a powerful statement, a powerful quote that says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. There's always a positive in a negative situation. I know that sounds cliche, but perspective is what makes or breaks the obstacle. And you could list out all the positives that you could get from the obstacle. The second principle in obstacle is the way is action. Basically, action is the energy and creativity we actively break down the obstacles with and turn them into opportunity. You have to be persistent to break down or to jump over a hurdle. You have to be iterate. You have to be able to try. Even after you fail. I think that's how you judge successful people. Their ability and their endurance, their stamina on failing. And there's a quote that says, and this quote really opened my eyes. It says, any good school, learning from failure is not free. The tuition is paid in either discomfort or loss, and even having to start over. Failure will make you start over. Failing to win the Champions League will make you have to start over, all over, and try and reach your goal once again. Be glad you had to pay the cost. The second actionable step is the process. The process is the helpful, occasional, and bossy voice in your head. It's the whys of the bark leader. In most cases, I think I've heard it in most self-improvement circles, it's the higher self. What the person that you want to become, it's in the back of your head. The person the person that's always making you go another rep, the person that's always making you, do the extra work. It's that person in your head. And like Coach Nick Saban, the Alabama State coach, one of the greatest football college coaches, focus, like what he says, focus on what you have in front of you right now. What obstacle do you have right in front of you right now? Of course, you know the obstacle. Whether you just lost an important client, or one of the softwares you use to get for your agency just broke down. Focus on what is in front of you right now. You know how you could combat that. Take it brick by brick, or like Coach Nick Saban, take it drill by drill. You know your dream goal. What your dream goal is. Maybe it's to sign 20 clients by the end of the month. What's the process right now? What do you have to do right now? Drill by drill, game by game, rep by rep, set by set. And at the end of the year, you'll be much bigger than you were. Focus on what is in front of you. Tackle that. Focus on the process. And the third actionable step is do the job and do it right. Do the job that you have and do it right. You know how to combat. You know how to fight your obstacle. You know how to make that obstacle become a win. You know how to reach your goals. So do your job. Even no matter how minor it seems, how there's this, how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you do the small tasks at the end of the day will make the big tasks. That drill that you have to be doing right now, that rep you have to be doing right now, that set, do it right. Because at the end of the day, it will become a habit If you just take corners every day, take shortcuts every day, then it will become part of your subconscious, and your subconscious will just take shortcuts every day, because it knows that that's just the person you are. Your job in every task is to work hard. 1. 2 is to be honest. 3 is to help others as best as you can. You could always let the obstacle fight itself. You could let the problem be of use to you, because, as I said, every negative has a positive situation. You could find a way to use that obstacle to propel you further and to make you a better person, Use that Champions League final as a reason and as a cornerstone to rebuild your squad. Perception, again, is key, because if you believe you're an unlucky guy and you keep on getting obstacle upon obstacle, your mind won't be flexible enough to find a positive in the negative. How you see yourself, most importantly, before you see the obstacle, will be major to this. Sees the loss as a catapult. Ordinary people see loss as danger, but we see it as a time to take charge. We see it as a time to put the foot on the gas. We see it as time to go harder. But at the end of the day, prepare for none of it to work. Sometimes, just go back to the drawing board and practice the 7 virtues again. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The third principle of obstacle is the way is will. Is the maintenance of inner will that allows you to handle defeat. The first thing that comes to my mind whenever I think of will is boxing, because boxing is just such a will-driven sport. How much do you have inside of you to take a punch? Take so many punches and still win. Fucking Tony Ferguson. But first, actionables. It's definitely the hardest one to master out of these 3 principles. Of course, perception, action, and will. Because will is more profound. It's not as easy to change. It's not as easy to learn, And the first actionable step is building your inner citadel. I think it's pronounced as citadel. This approach goes back to ancient philosophers. Ancient philosophers, as I think most of you guys may know, is if you're watching this summary of the obstacle is the way. Emperors in the ancient Rome times were very shredded. Their bodies were sculpted to suit their mind. So they intended to reshape and prepare. They intended to reshape, prepare, and fortify for the challenges to come. So they kept on going through hardships, because at the end of the day, the only thing that they wanted to do was become a better person for the next obstacle, so it's easier to take on that obstacle, because the path of least resistance is a terrible teacher. And the part, it goes hand in hand with you need discomfort in order to grow. You need obstacles in order to grow, in order to become that person you want to be. That person you want to be didn't have all rain or sunshine, That person didn't sit at home and just play video games. Of course, he had to take on the obstacles. Take on the first obstacle of the day was waking up when that alarm clock sounds. That's the first obstacle of the day. Take on obstacles each and every day. The obstacles that you made. lifting weights. And the second actionable step for will is be acquiescence. Hopefully it's pronounced as that. And amor fati. Everything happens for a reason, I think would be a huge summary for this actionable step. Know that and love everything that happens. Have the will and have the ability to be grateful that it could have been worse, you know. Instead of losing the Champions League final, you could have lost. I know it's kind of absurd to think of this, but you could have lost your players to a plane crash. Be grateful. There's always something to be grateful of, even in times of hardship. You know, there's always a positive in a negative situation. I think that's what's keep on coming up, you know, keep on resurfacing as I go through these actionable steps and these principles, is that every negative is a positive. You can get value from negative situations. I think you get the most value from negative situations. That's why the obstacle is the way. The path of least resistance is a terrible teacher. It is more part of your soul, you know. You need to know that there's something bigger than you in the world. Don't act as if you're special. Every person goes through hardships and tribulations. You know, someone a century ago was going through the same exact thing you were going through. You know, maybe it's not as modern as what you're going through. Maybe you're not getting any sales, you know. Maybe the person a century ago wasn't getting any land. Everyone's going through obstacles. Everyone will keep on going through obstacles. Life is not easy like a Sunday morning, you know. You'll always go through something. And if you can't take on the obstacle head on and defeat it, make it easier for someone else in the near future to use it as a catapult. Use it as a W. Work. That's why I respect most authors, because they take their past failures and they take all the advices that they have for you, make it life easier for you, so you don't have to go through the same trials and tribulations in order to become Imengadzi. He's trying to give you all the advice for you to become a millionaire faster than him. He's trying to show you the roadmap to online businesses. Hamza is not trying to see males that are 48 and they don't have jobs. Just know that you're just a small drop in the ocean. There will be more people a decade later. Maybe you might die tomorrow. How can you take on the obstacle to an extent that it can make it easier for the next person to deal with? Embrace the part of being a whole. Embrace the part of being a human being. And the last actionable step in the last chapter in the book is, I think, it's just whenever I see this word, it's Stoicism. When I first found out on Stoicism, it was through this mindset and principle, which is memento mori. Know that you have to die one day, and would you let something so minor stop you from living your life? You know, what would you be doing if you knew you would be dying tomorrow? Would you care for selfless things? You know, such minute things, such small things that really aren't going to make a difference 10, 20 years. You know, you'd have the courage to take on that obstacle because you know you might die tomorrow. Memento mori. Stop living as if you're going to live forever. Leave a like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned for the next book club series. 2 videos each week. Keep me accountable, guys.